Hello children, today's lesson is grade 10, 6th lesson, structure and function of the plant and animal cell. Right. You know the smallest biological unit. You familiar with the word cell, right? Cell is the smallest unit. You know the shape of a cell like this. You studied in grade 7, grade 8 classes, right? Then we can't observe the cell under naked eye, right? We use the light microscope. In first, we haven't any microscope. Then, how we identify this? In first, who discovered the cell? Who discovered it? In 1665. 1665. Robert Hooke. Robert Hooke was discovered the cell. He prepared a microscope and observed some thin section of cork using that microscope, and he can observe like a chamber, like behave like chamber, like this, like a chamber, right? Then he called that cell, right? This as cell. One thing he called cell, right? Then first who discovered the cell? Robert Hooke in 1665. Here a figure in your textbook, Robert Hooke and his microscope and chambers like that behave, right? Then after few years, some scientists study these cells. In 1838, in 1838, the scientist who Schleiden Schwann and Rudolf Virchow. These three scientists discovered that develop cell and cell theory. Cell theory was introduced by these three scientists, Leiden, Swan and Rudolf Virchow. Right? What is that? Cell theory. Right? They introduced this cell theory. What is in that cell theory? There are three parts. First one is the structural and functional unit of life is the cell. First one is the structural and functional unit of life is the cell. Right. Yeah. First one, the structural and functional unit of life is the cell. Right? Then second one, all organisms are made up of one or more cells. Right, second one, all organisms are made up of one or more cells. Right, that is second one. And third one, new cells are formed from pre-existing cells. Right? New cells are formed from existing cells. Right? That is the cell theory. This is cell theory. Right? Cell theory. That is the cell theory. Leiden, Swan and Rudolf Virchow introduced that as these three theories, three statements. What is the structural and functional unit of life is the cell. Second one, all organisms are made up of one or more cells. Third one, new cells are formed from existing cells. Right. That is cell theory. Then we want to talk about concept of the cell. Concept of the cell. concept of the cell. Right, concept of the cell. You know, smallest living thing is cell. Right, then according to that, the cell is the smallest structural unit of organization of living body. First one, that is the concept of the cell theory. Cell, right? First one that. Then smallest unit, that called smallest unit. Here the nucleus and the cell body. Right. Second one, single cell. If it is a single cell, one cell, we call unicellular organism. Unicellular organism, right? Then multicellular with many cells, that is multicellular organism. Right. Unicellular organisms in one cell, multicellular organisms in many cells. Right. Then third one is cells perform different function in the body. There are different types of cells in our body. There are different functions for that different cells. Right. Example, third one, red blood cells. Red blood cells, like this, other side, like this. Red blood cells in this view. Red blood cells. What is the function of red blood cells? Transportation of the oxygen in our body. That is the function of red blood cells. And neurons. Neurons. What is the function of neurons? Transmission of nerve impulse. Nerve impulse done by neuron. Right. Then different cells are different shapes. You know, red blood cell in this type and neuron cell like this. Right, neuron cell like this. Right, here the nucleus. Right, different shapes. Cells are different shapes. Right, um, mm, different shape and different function and different size. These cells are in our body, and different types of cells also in the plant body. Right. That is, we talk the basic unit of life is cell, and the cell theory and the concept of the cell. The next video we'll study structure of cell. What is the structure of these cells? Right. Thank you.